My 19 female BF 21 male cheated on me and tells me I'm the reason why he cheated. Asks for another chance. I met my SO at the lowest point of my life. I wasn't doing okay with my friends and family because of issues that happened which took a toll on my mental health. I was depressed and avoided every person that wanted to make a connection with me, may it be platonic or romantic. He was the only one who earned my trust. He was patient with me until I sorted all of my problems. He was different from everybody and he saw parts of me that I never showed anyone. I know for a fact that I shouldn't be dependent on anyone with regards to my mental health. That's why I was so grateful to him for being there even though I didn't ask him to and even though I was always pushing him away. Fast forward, I started getting busy with college and he started working on with his job. We were both struggling with our lives. I had separation anxiety with my friends, my parents got divorced, I had troubles keeping up in class, and some of the mean girls in my class bullied me. But I was okay because I knew he was still there. He was my strength. He started to have problems, too, with work. I had set aside all of my problems because I told myself that it was my turn to be his strength. He would tell me his problems when he got off from work and I would listen to him every day. The problem started when he wouldn't make time for me. His work starts at 11 a.m. and finishes at 9 p.m. But instead of going home after work, he would always go out with his clients, telling me that it was to gain their trust. Because of that, he would always come home at 11 p.m. I only get to talk to him at 12 midnight. I wasn't the type to be overbearing, so I never really cared. However, when he gets his day off, he would either have his alone time or go out with his friends. Again, I tried to understand. It was okay if this only happened occasionally, but it went on for months and I was starting to get sick of it. My love language is quality time, so I never really asked for any material things from him. It meant a lot to me whenever he makes time for me. He always has time for friends, but not for me. Our routine would involve him going to work, going home, talk about his problems, and that's it. He never asks me if I was okay enough for him to dump his problems on me. And when I finally had the guts to say that I don't want to listen to his problems for the night, he started getting angry. I was there when he had nothing. But now he finally got what he wanted. I didn't know where to place myself. He's surrounded by all new people in his life and I wasn't a part of it. I started picking fights with him because that was the only way he would give me time and attention. I know it was wrong, but I was hopeless that time. I told him that I wanted to take a break from us and he took it personally and interpreted the situation as a breakup. I admit I had attempted to cheat first by flirting with somebody else, but in the end I wasn't able to. I was lost, but my love for him was greater, so I turned the guy down. We did not have contact for 2 to 3 days, no calls, no messages. When I reached out to him, I found out he had us with his ex-fubu, twice, in the span of 3 days. When we first started out, he admitted that he wasn't over her, so I became patient and waited for him to realize that we were enough. He was able to forget her, but they continued to talk from time to time, and I wasn't really bothered too much because my trust for him was bigger than the situation and I could see that he was the one avoiding her totally. They only talked when necessary since they had the same circle of friends. We talked after those 3 days and he admitted that he had us with her. I took it as a joke because I told myself that he was only provoking me and my trust was greater than what we are facing. So we went on for another 2 months because I thought it was only a joke. When the topic was brought up again, I realized that he wasn't joking and he did hit us with her. I admit I had my faults and mistakes that caused our relationship to fall into pieces. We were both at fault, but I can't help getting hurt by the fact that he chose to have us with her even though he had other ways of coping. I was tempted to, but I never gave in. When we finally talked, he explained to me that he only did that because he thought he lost me, that he was alone facing his problems. He says he doesn't really have feelings for her anymore. He says that I was always shutting him down, which caused him to go back to who he was before he met me because he felt alone again. He said that when he thought I accepted what happened, he was finally going to be a better man. But I just couldn't. Cheating is a deal breaker for me. I told him that I really can't accept what he had done. He says he'll be better if I give him another chance. He told me that he only did that because I kept turning him down when he needed to talk about his problems. I admit that there's a part of me that wants to give him another chance because we're still so young and we are prone to mistakes. But it is also because we are still so young that makes me afraid that he will do this again when we grow old. I honestly still can't let him go because he's the only home I've ever known. But even if I give him another chance, there's only a little chance for me to trust him again. What should I do? Boyfriend lied to me about the fact that he cheated on his ex. Am I overthinking? Howdy. So, to preface, I 24 female have some pretty bad trust issues that stem from being cheated on multiple times. I had discussed this with my boyfriend 22 male prior to dating and he knew that I had these issues and that it is a soft spot for me. So fast forward a few months, we're dating, I'm on vacation visiting a friend and he is back home out at the bars. Trusting my significant other while they are out and I'm states away is hard for me, but I realize that's my issue to deal with and not his. I got a Snapchat from him when I got to the airport saying the party he was at was lame and that he was going to leave soon. Before I could respond, he sent another Snapchat saying, "Are you going home?" "I'm going home soon." Unfortunately, immediately my head went to the worst case scenario, thinking he meant to send that to another girl. It seemed weird to me that he would be so repetitive, and the phrasing of the message just seemed sort of weird. It bothered me for a while and I tried to deal with it myself for fear of showing mistrust, but it got bad and it was all I could think about. I tend to talk down to myself, which sounds something like "You're being stupid to trust him. He meant to send that to another girl and you're dumb to trust him." A few weeks go by and I realized I should be open about what's bothering me, and I hate to admit, but I asked him if he would let me look at his Snapchat history. He sent it to me and asked me not to look any further than before we started dating because that stuff wasn't relevant. Okay, fair. I didn't find anything concerning from when we were together, and I know this is fully on me and I let curiosity get the best of me, but I scrolled down and saw messages from when he was dating his ex. My curiosity stemmed from the fact that before we dated, he told me he was scared to tell his mom about me because she would be upset he wasn't getting back together with his ex and that his mom loves his ex so much. I thought, damn, this girl must be great. He also used to talk about her a lot, to the point where it made me feel insecure. I realized this is wrong, but I saw some messages that were to a girl, who was not his GF at the time, telling her she was hot, and that it was nice to see her, asking her what she was up to currently, and that they should hang out soon. I also saw messages from one of his friends asking him why he was on Tinder but using a different name, and him saying it was a joke account. I knew I shouldn't have seen those messages and I apologized profusely for it, but when confronted, he said him and his GF at the time were trying to arrange a threesome. It felt like a lie, but he kept assuring me that was the truth. More time goes on, and it's still bothering me. My mental health was started to get bad because I felt as if he was still lying. I remember crying to him because I couldn't let it go, and wanted to so badly, and he told me I still looked so cute when I cried. He told me before we started dating that him and his ex had ended amicably and are still good friends, they just couldn't do the long distance. I asked if he could somehow nonchalantly text his ex and bring up the time they were looking for a threesome just to give me a little peace of mind. A big ask and a last resort, but I wanted so badly to be proved wrong, and figured if it were the truth and they were still friends, it shouldn't be that huge of a deal for him. He told me he wanted nothing to do with his ex and that he absolutely would not text her, and that if I tried to contact her, which I was not planning on doing, he would break up with me. A few weeks later, he tells me he will text her. He says she never responded because she might be mad at him for not keeping in touch after the breakup. Another few weeks go by and he said he texted her again and she responded. He shows me the texts and I realize they are green, but months prior recalled how he said they used to FaceTime almost every night, meaning she would have an iPhone. I asked him about that, and he said they used a different app because she had an Android, and he just said FaceTime because it was easier. This also felt like a lie. I looked at his ex Instagram and saw that she had an iPhone by a mirror selfie from a post a week ago. I asked him about this and he said yeah, her dad worked for Android and got her an Android, but she hated it so she switches phones a lot. Again, this felt like another lie, so I looked at the texts to his ex on his phone and realized her phone number starts with the area code in the town we both currently live in. She is not from, nor has she ever lived here. He says when she was visiting once she got a lot of spam phone calls and had to change her number at a store up there. That's why it has that area code. I ended up finding out that he paid for a fake phone number and was in fact texting himself, pretending to be his ex-GF to corroborate his story. If he could have accepted that he F'd up in a past relationship and learned from it, I believe I would have been able to see past it. It would have been difficult given my past, but I can handle the truth but don't like convincing myself when things feel wrong. But when he finally told me the truth, because I told him I knew he was lying, he said he didn't want to tell me because he was scared I would break up with him. He told me he never cheated, but talking to a girl like that and asking her to hang out is as close as it gets. I see his side. I understand that I have trust issues and should not have seen those messages and wouldn't have if I didn't start this by asking to see his Snap history and let my curiosity get the best of me. But I feel as if the extent to which he lied is troublesome and it's become exceedingly hard to look past. I feel like I can't trust anything he says. My 25 female boyfriend, 26 male of 10 months, is best friends with his ex-20s female. She refuses to meet me and it's getting weird. I started dating my boyfriend, Jeff, 10 months ago. This relationship has been amazing so far and I definitely see a future with him. There's just one problem. He has a weird relationship with his ex that's starting to make me really uncomfortable and suspicious. When we started dating, he often talked about his best friend, Jenna, who he also owns a business with. He made it pretty clear that she was an important person to him. I knew they had spent vacations together, and he mentioned hanging out with her parents a few times, too. A few weeks after I met him, I creeped through all his pictures on Facebook, because who doesn't do that with someone they just started dating, and saw a bunch of very coupley pictures of him and Jenna. I also found her Instagram and looked through it, and it's filled with pictures of Jeff. A bunch of them had the hashtag relationship goals and other similar things. So in this way, I figured out that they had dated. I kept waiting for him to tell me that himself, but he never did. About 2 months after we started dating, I straight up asked him if he had dated her, and he admitted it. He said that they had met in school and had similar ideals and ambitions. They dated for 9 months and broke up a year and a half ago. I asked him why they'd broken up, and he said their relationship was awful and they worked much better as friends. They started their business after they broke up, and things have, apparently, been going well between them since then. I started to get kind of suspicious about her, though, when time passed and I still hadn't met her. I met his friends and family pretty soon after we started dating, but I didn't meet Jenna. I went to numerous social events that I'd expect her to be at, but she was never there. There were a number of occasions when our paths almost crossed and I really thought I was going to meet her, but I never did. For example, I went to their office a few times to meet Jeff after work, and Jenna was already gone. Or sometimes I'd come to meet him and he'd come outside to meet me so I wouldn't have to go inside. Things started to get really weird about 3 months ago. Jeff and Jenna were having an open house night one evening. Jeff came over to my place after work and we had a few hours to kill before it was time to go, so we went out for dinner and then walked to the office. I was kind of expecting that I'd come in and help them set up, but when we were a block away, he started asking me if I had lots of work to do and saying there was a really nice coffee shop nearby. He actually walked me to the coffee shop and sat me down, then left to go get ready with Jenna. He told me to come to the office in an hour and a half. About half an hour before I left for the office, I texted Jeff and said I hoped everything was going well and asked if there was anything I could do. He replied and said, "Something's come up for Jenna and she can't be here tonight." I was getting really suspicious at this point. I went to the office half an hour later and sure enough, Jenna wasn't there. People kept asking about her all night and Jeff told them she'd had a family emergency. When we walked back to the car later that night, he told me what happened. While he and Jenna were getting ready, she had had a panic attack and said she was scared to meet me. She said she wouldn't be able to handle it and either had to leave or he had to tell me not to come. He told her to leave, so she did. Since then, a couple more weird things have happened, and I still haven't met Jenna. Once, when I was hanging out with Jeff, we went to the office so he could grab something. When we were almost there, he looked at his phone and said, "Jenna's still there. Let's just go for a walk." So we walked around the block for half an hour and then came back when she was gone. After that happened, I told Jeff I felt really uncomfortable with the situation. I could respect that they were friends who had dated, but the way she was acting about me was very suspicious. He apologized and said he had actually been really mad at her, but wasn't sure what to do. He also told me a couple other weird stories about things she'd done. He went to a party a few weeks ago I didn't go and his phone had died that night. When he got home and charged his phone, it was full of texts from Jenna saying she was outside in her car and asking if I was there or not. She actually never even ended up going to the party, simply because she didn't know if I was there or not. Now here's the kicker, Jeff and Jenna are currently on a 2-week-long camping trip. They've been planning this trip since before I met him, but considering the way she's behaved, I feel very uncomfortable about him being on this trip. I just looked at her Instagram and she's posted 5 new pictures of him. As awesome as Jeff is, I'm really fed up with this and I'm seriously considering breaking things off when he gets back. Am I being unreasonable?
Make sure and subscribe.